So in this session, what we are going to do is we are going to look at the block diagram of how a NIC card works, along with the operating system and the programs we are using. So the operating system runs in the kernel mode or privileged mode of the CPU, where the NIC card driver runs. And the applications, for example, the client and server we are using, or Chrome, all of those applications are running inside the non-privileged mode of the CPU. So what we are going to do is we are going to look at how all this thing works with the help of a block diagram. So we are going to see how our client and server is going to fit into the device driver, device, and the operating system story we have discussed so far. Again, getting back to the blackboard. So we have our hardware in the bottom, which is nothing but our NIC card in this case. You can think of it like any other device for the time being, any other device which is connected to the operating system. Now we have the device driver of the NIC card, which is the Intel file we saw, device driver. So this is a program which knows how to talk to the device. And then the operating system. So again, software. OS knows how to talk to the device driver, or device driver know how to talk to OS. Now this whole thing is in something called kernel mode of the operating system, or kernel in general. So basically kernel mode is nothing but a state of the CPU. It is also called privileged mode. The application or programs running in the kernel mode has more privileges. It can do certain operations like interrupt handling, interrupt masking, directly talking to devices. All those privileged actions can be done in the kernel mode. So the core operating system, as well as all the device drivers running inside the kernel or in the kernel mode. Now, what is not running inside kernel mode? That is where our application comes. A word application, notepad, command prompt, our server, our client, a web browser, everything is running in something called user mode. So this is the user mode, which we are drawing here, and the application. For example, this is our server, this is our client, say something like a Word or PowerPoint, CMD, then VS Code. VS Code is also a user mode application. So all these application has to talk to the kernel to get things done. Now, in terms of the working of our server, the server will connect to the operating system. And if it is trying to access a device, it is going through the operating system, and the operating system further connects to the device driver, and the device driver send packets to the device. This is the general flow in almost all the operating system. So operating system checks a lot of security things and other aspects of this particular request, which is coming from the non-privileged application, and make sure that everything is right before it is doing the particular action. In some cases, there are multiple device drivers are included. In fact, more than often, there are so many device drivers are included in a specific call. Typical example is the connect and accept calls we were making so far. So the client did the connect call, it gone into the operating system. The connect call gone into the operating system. The operating system in turn connected to a driver, which is AFD. So AFD was a driver which is supposed to implement this particular connect call from the user mode application, which is right here. Now, the AFD in turn connects to another driver, which is TCP/IP, again with the help of the operating system. So the actual call comes almost like this, although I'm drawing it like this. So this is the TCP/IP.sys. And TCP/IP connects to something else called NDIS in Windows. NDIS is a very Windows specific platform for writing network device drivers. In fact, the programs we were writing is kind of an NDIS device driver of the loopback interface. Without getting into much details, the NDIS is a driver in Windows, pretty much abstracts this actual device driver of the NIC card or any network device for that matter, like Wi-Fi, NIC cards, anything which can manifest as a network adapter, which includes virtual adapters as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase this diagram and draw a little more concrete diagram just to explain the programs we were looking. I'm going to omit all kind of unnecessary details like PowerPoint, command prompt, etc. We are going to focus just on our server and client, and we are going to put more focus on these drivers right here. In fact, in our case, this was a virtual device, which is a loopback driver for the loopback device driver for the loopback network interface card. So we'll take that into consideration as well. So to conclude, what we have seen is the working of a NIC card operating system and applications with the help of a block diagram. We'll see more details throughout the training, but for the time being, this concept is enough for us to get going.